Ahoy hoy, modern believers. My name is Quinton Miles, and welcome to the QAM Comics Rewind video for Template After Vega. Originally released on February 4th, 2015, this epilogue issue to the events of Season 1 was written by yours truly with art by Anders Quezada, colors by Nathan Lum, and letters by Ken Reynolds. The creation of this issue has a story all its own, as I've alluded to before, with the primary reasons being to clear up parts of the plot and to do a little bit of world building. Not too long before writing the script for this, I wrote the first of two spec pilot scripts for a potential television version of Template. In doing that, I found myself doing a lot of the stuff I just mentioned, and when that ultimately didn't go anywhere, I used it here and in Season 2. In addition to that, developing the plot for Season 2 made me realize that the best way to tell that story was to hit the ground running, and we couldn't do that with the dangling plot threads from Season 1. And on the production side, we were gearing Season 2 to be our first story built from the ground up for Comixology's Guided View native format, and we needed to know how viable that was. Long story short, this issue was doing a lot of work and was important not just for the series, but for all of my books coming out during that time period. I guess you could say it was the template. Before we get going, if you're digging the videos, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've also got a Patreon if you'd like to help us make stuff a lot quicker. I mean, a lot quicker. That's half the battle when it comes to this stuff. Details in the description. Okay, let's roll. We join in on a phone call. Dr. Monroe, it's Aaron. There's some information you need to see. Like what? Aaron asks. This really needs to be done in person, Aaron says. If Oversight finds out about our arrangement over the phone, fine, Dr. Monroe says, cutting him off. Where are you? 13 Days AV, more formally known as 13 Days after Manuel Vega was stopped by Beta and Alpha in Season 1. A car quickly speeds into the entrance of a gate, drifting for a moment before coming to a stop. Dr. Mark Monroe emerges from the car and approaches Aaron, his private investigator. We're out in the middle of damn nowhere, Aaron, Mark says. What's so important? He's cut off. Dr. Mark Monroe, the voice says. Former Oversight employee, former senior engineer in Operation Paragon. And since we're revealing info, I'll do my part on the commentary side. Remember way back in the first issue of Season 1 when Alpha mentioned she just found out about her new sister? And we just glossed over that and moved on to her threatening Ross Harding? Well, she got that information from Mark Monroe. Given where this was all going in this issue, it didn't feel necessary to spell that out here, but in that spec pilot script, there's a threatening and slightly funny scene between him and Alpha. You're a hard man to locate, Doctor, the man who is now revealed to be an Oversight agent says as he steps out of the shadows. Good thing your security detail helped us out with that. Oversight? A startled Mark says. No. Startled then turns to rage as he gets in Aaron's face. You set me up? Mark screams. You son of a blam! A single, targeted gunshot pierces Aaron's chest, instantly killing him. Mark tries to think of something that will save him, but the agent doesn't really give him a chance. Stop spinning those wheels, Doc, he says. You're out of moves. Mark then goes into full desperation mode and begins rambling. I had no involvement in any of Manuel Vega's activities, he says. I'm done with Oversight. Bryce fired us, and that was that. What do you people want? Letting him get all that out, the agent calmly approaches Mark with a stern order. You need to come with me, he says. Mark tries rambling again, but it's not happening as the agent says he won't repeat himself. A defeated Mark walks off with the agent right behind him. One down, two to go, the agent says coldly. I'm having trust issues right now, a voice says. People tell me one thing, then they do another. Normally, I wouldn't think anything of it. It's what people do. But this time, it interfered with business. That can't be tolerated under any circumstances. 24 Days AV. The voice is revealed to be Oversight CEO Bryce Lucas. He stands over a barely lucid Ross Harding who is hooked up to a number of sedatives. That said, I take no joy in doing this, he says. He turns to an unnamed doctor and asks if he can hear anything. She tells him just barely, as the sedatives begin to kick in. Ross mutters for his wife Ella, and Bryce tells him not to worry about her. Your family will be compensated and cared for, so no worries there, he says. But you've put us in quite the predicament. He walks over to the large vial in the back of the room as he expresses his gratitude to Ross. "We found holes in our security that I never knew existed thanks to your stunt with Alpha," Bryce says. "Every single one of them will be shored up. And that, my friend, will be your legacy here. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't impressed with what Vega was able to do," Bryce continues as we get a clear look at the vial. It contains Manuel Vega's Mecha Vega armor, recovered from the operation. It'd be a shame to waste all that good work. And we won't. Bryce has the doctors continue with the procedure and keep him posted on any updates. They confirm. Bryce then walks out and says goodbye to Ross, presumably for the final time. "Nothing personal," he says. With Bryce now gone, the doctors get to work. "Commencing Operation Charlie," the lead doctor says. "Can I be straight with you, Director Lucas?" a female voice asks. "I'd be offended if you weren't," Bryce responds. "Why me?" "You're the best analyst out there," Bryce says. "According to who?" she asks. "According to everyone," Bryce says confidently. 31 days AV. A young woman, confident in her own right, sits across from Bryce. "Sounds like my reputation precedes me," she says. Bryce tells her not to be so modest. "Roxanne Quan," he says. "Honors graduate in logistics. In 3 years, you're already among Whitestone's key performers, with some field experience to boot. We could use that at Oversight." "I bet," she says cynically. "So why do I feel like you're not telling me the whole story?" "You're the analyst," Bryce says. "Feel free to enlighten me." Roxanne goes on to demonstrate that she's been fully aware of what's been going on at Oversight, and then some, speculating that he wants her on whatever's left of Operation Paragon. She continues, telling Bryce that her and Whitestone even know all about Oversight's exploits in Dusk City. The cynicism turns into slight frustration, as she acknowledges Whitestone's efforts to get into artificial intelligence. As an advisor on their latest project, she admits she's not a fan of how they're bottlenecking their work. "You're not happy with them," Bryce says. "I don't need an AI telling me how to do my job better," Roxanne says. "That's all it's ever going to be with the current administration." Bryce surmises that she wants to work with one instead, and correctly guesses that working with Beta was probably the only reason she took the meeting. "Is she around?" Roxanne asks. Bryce tells her that she's currently in a training session and that she can do much more than that if she accepts his offer. She presses a little further, inquiring about the rumors of government involvement, and Bryce playfully responds that she knows that he can't talk about speculation with non-employees. "What about your other guy?" Roxanne asks. "Torres?" "Hayden's an engineer, not an analyst," Bryce says. "He filled a role out of necessity during Beta's first stop, but we need a dedicated person in that role. I'm hoping that person is you. So, is it?" Roxanne takes a beat to think about it before confirming those hopes by accepting his offer. The two get up and shake hands, making it official. "Welcome to Oversight, Miss Quan," Bryce says. "Miss Quan was my mother's name, Director," she responds. "Call me Roxy." And with this one scene, we're not only introduced to one of the most important characters of the series going forward, but also set up the primary antagonist for Season 2. Did you catch it? Let me know in the comments. "Dad?" a child's voice says. "Dad, wake up." "RJ, your dad had a long night at work," a woman's voice says. "Let him rest his eyes for a sec." "But he promised we'd go," a child says as another voice recognizes the other two voices. "RJ?" the voice mumbles. 36 days AV. The woman and child are revealed to be Ella Harding and her son Ross Jr. Ross, the other voice, wakes up to the two standing in front of him in their home. "See? He's up," RJ says. "We can go." "This isn't real," Ross says, before RJ asks him if he's okay. Ella tells him to go outside and they'll catch up. "You forgot about taking him to the park, didn't you?" Ella says, followed by something extremely out of character. "He's hallucinating again," Ella says. "Don't worry about it, Ross. I'll take care of him." Just let go. "What?" Ross responds in disbelief. "No, I can't. Fighting will only make it harder," Ella says. "Let go." Ross, no longer able to muster the strength to fight, lets go. "That should be enough," Ella says. "He's fading. Do another diagnostic check. This should be the last time it happens." Ella and RJ wave goodbye to Ross one last time, with Ella saying she loves him. Lines of random numbers and code appear on screen before quickly clearing up. Right as Ross recognizes that it's not Ella and RJ in front of him, and instead the doctor from the earlier Bryce scene with her assistant. She takes a flashlight and inspects Ross's eyes, confirming his diagnostics are all in check. Let Director Lucas know he's ready, the doctor says. 47 days AV. The Oversight Headquarters hub room is packed as they prepare for an all-hands meeting. Roxy and Hayden arrive mid-conversation. So is Beta always that quiet? Roxy asks. I thought I did something wrong. Hayden tells her not to take it personally since she's been in a mood for a while now, directly referencing their last conversation at the end of Season 1. Roxy finds that cool. In the sense that an AI can get in a mood, you know, she says. She's so much more advanced than I thought. Roxy continues to praise Hayden as he reassures her that calling him Hayden instead of Mr. Torres is absolutely fine. As they talk, Bryce enters the room, and if we had sound, the room would have gone silent. You know what this is about? Roxy asks. No clue, Hayden says, but it can't be good. A little over a month ago, Oversight was exposed in a way we've never been before, Bryce says. Our prized asset was put in a potentially irreparable situation that, if it went that far, could have done insurmountable damage to us as a company. Beta ultimately persevered despite those setbacks, though, proving Operation Paragon does have a future. But in order for that future to happen, we need to clean up our past. Bryce signals his agents, and they bring in Dr. Mark Monroe alongside two other people in orange jumpsuits. Hayden approaches Bryce looking confused. What is this, Bryce? He asks. Course correction, Dr. Torres, Bryce responds. You may want to step back. Bryce then goes on to introduce all three men to the room. Dr. Mark Monroe, Dr. Alvin Smith, and Dr. Theo Walker, explaining that these are the last three men on the planet aside from Manuel Vega and Ross Harding that have any sort of affiliation with the original Operation Paragon team. We all know what happened with Vega, he says, so let's deal with these three now, shall we? Mark Monroe pleads for Bryce not to do this, heavily implying that he knows whatever is coming, it's fatal. Oh, I'm not doing anything, Bryce says. You did this to yourself when you couldn't just walk away. So now nobody will. And before Mark or anybody else can get another word out, blam, blam, blam. 3 gunshots ring off in quick succession, killing all 3 doctors. The entire room expresses shock at what just happened as Bryce cleans the splatter off of his forehead. Well, that's that, he says. What? What was the point of that? A startled Hayden asks. Manuel Vega wasn't the only former employee doing his own thing under the table, Bryce says. He may have been a bit more dramatic, but each of these 3 men were guilty just the same of trying to profit off their work here. I won't abide that. Ever. Now that I'm looking at this, I guess explaining another bit from the spec pilot wouldn't hurt. We all know from Season 1 that Manuel Vega used knowledge of Operation Paragon for his own purposes. And here we reveal via Bryce's implication that he wasn't the only one, as all the original doctors did in some form or fashion. That scene with Alpha I mentioned in the spec pilot script earlier has her explicitly catching Mark in the act of selling Operation Paragon schematics. And while we don't get into details on the other 2 doctors, they were in equally shady dealings. And that brings us to the worst offender of them all, Dr. Harding, Bryce says. Not only did he sell us out to Alpha, he threatened the security of this compound. Simply disposing of him would have been too easy, so I got a bit creative. Bryce looks up to the comms. Charlie, are you online? Bryce asks. Yes, Director Lucas, the oddly familiar voice says. Come in and say hello to the team, Bryce says. Charlie, Hayden asks. Who? Allow me to introduce Oversight's new Information and Security Chief, Bryce says. Hayden looks towards the door and is horrified as Bryce smiles gleefully as the person walks through. And despite looking like him, this is no longer Ross Harding. This is somebody else entirely, and along with Roxy, plays a huge part in the future of this series. Hello, Charlie says. I'm here to help in any way that I can. So in case you're still not aware, Bryce just turned the company Mole into the company's new android head of security using the decommissioned armor of the mad scientist who tried to profit off his work from the company. Never let it be said that this man doesn't have a sense of humor. I'll give you all time to get acquainted, but consider my point made, Bryce says. There will be no more traitors. There will be no more moles. Cross me at your own risk, and heaven help you if you do. He then orders the room as they were before callously telling somebody else to clean the mess up, right as he passes Roxy. Hayden approaches her not too long after. Still finding everything cool, he asks. Before she can answer, he says he'll meet her downstairs since Beta should be finishing her training session. Welcome to the wonderful world of oversight, he says sarcastically. Copy that, Roxy responds as Charlie watches over her shoulder. That's a wrap for Template After Vega. I'm sure you've noticed it by now, but Beta was absolutely nowhere to be seen in this issue, and that was by design. My mission was clear heading in, and with Beta's initial arc concluded at the end of Season 1, I didn't think it was necessary to feature her at all here. I also wanted to leave some things to the imagination, like how her and Roxy initially get along. Don't worry though, Season 2 is right around the corner, and you'll get to see their dynamic pretty much instantly. And don't forget, Template After Vega, as well as Seasons 1 and 2, are all available right now for your reading consumption on both Comixology and Kindle Unlimited. So if you really want to know what happens, you can check those out for free if you're a subscriber. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see you.